Case number 015. Read the contract before you touch a shovel.
Hi, I'm Megan Rogers, your co-host, here with
Sarah Young.
The Sarah Young.
The Sarah Young.
You know, I hadn't heard that in the last week, so thank you.
And my favorite producer,
Tim Beeman.
We should try and say Tim's name, all like seductive, like he also like sexily, like he says it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Tim Beeman.
See, I don't have a very good.
You can't be a sex operator?
No.
Means you're not trying hard enough.
Okay. Tim Beeman.
There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
There we go.
Both of them were fantastic.
We did
I
so
approve.
good.
Mine was a little too breathy. Tim Beeman.
That's not too what's too breathy?
Okay.
I don't know.
Tim Beeman.
Tim Beeman.
Megan Rogers.
Ooh.
The Sarah Young.
You're so funny. Okay, so today we're talking about
Construction contracts.
Yay. Everybody loves construction. So when Bob the builder and Brenda the builder get into things that they shouldn't have gotten into, and how do they get out of it, and how do they protect themselves?
So we last night were at a meeting for the homeowners association, and you spoke on this.
Not the HOA. It's a
Home
professional
Builders
home builders group locally.
That's HBA, right? Not HOA.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
You know.
It's hump day, guys. Just be nice.
Hey, on Tuesday. So we record, full disclosure, we record on various days of the week. Today happens to be Wednesday, although the episode will drop on a Tuesday.
That is true.
So let's not get too tied up in that.
Yeah, don't think about it very hard. So,
wait, but she said it's hump day and it's a Tuesday.
All right. So, Sarah.
She's had enough of me.
I have. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. It's okay.
Uh-huh. So, if your contract was a type of hammer, what kind would it be?
Oh, we're just going to kick it off, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I want to know. I want to know the type of hammer.
Sledgehammer.
My favorite song of all time.
I love that song.
From my favorite album of all time.
Yeah. So you don't want a flimsy dollar store hammer, a one-page handshake agreement. You want the framing nailer. Bang, 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 bang. You want a sledgehammer.
There we go.
So, construction pickup lines, go. I'll start. Are you a lien agent? Because I've been trying to give you notice since day one. Top it, Megan.
I must be a contractor because I can't stop checking out your structure.
Oh, I like that one.
I have another one. Can I tell you my other one?
Yeah.
All right. I may not be a carpenter, but I'd still nail our first date.
I know you have some in the chamber.
Come on, Tim. What do you
Tim
got?
always has some good ones in the holster.
Well, so this is probably not appropriate, but, you know, I've gone out with a couple of flat-chested women and said she's flat as a board and easy to nail.
Oh! Hey, Sarah. Are you a foundation? Because everything about you feels solid.
Where are you getting these from? Like, these are not coming from your brain. Just like, how do you just like out with them?
Coming from her repertoire of what's been used against her.
You also forget that once upon a time, before I went to school to be a paralegal, I worked in commercial construction sales.
Ah, okay. All right. Have you heard this one? Do your best, caulk the rest.
Oh my God. Are you a construction permit? Because you've got my plans approved.
What do carpenters do at parties? Raise the roof.
just love you. You are so funny.
Hey, I'm not a quitter. I'm a fitter.
Are you a blueprint? Because I've been studying you all day.
Well, I want to know, what do you call a room full of cynical plumbers? A skeptic tank.
If you lay foundations and you like it, does that make you have a footer fetish?
Hey, Sarah. Are you OSHA approved? Because you're making my heart stop.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. Why did the construction worker bring a ladder to the bar? He wanted to go on the top shelf. That one sucked. Okay.
And that concludes the crappy version.
That was terrible.
Okay, so, Sarah,
And scene.
what would your job title be if it had to be if it had to describe your actual day?
Okay, that's pretty easy. Explainer of things people should have asked before they signed.
So I'm just a professional question asker.
And chaos absorber.
There we go. That works.
What
That
would you
works.
say yours is, Tim? Your job title to describe your actual day. It's not actually your job title.
Magician. Because I make magic happen.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for the mic to drop because he, dramatic pause. Like it.
So in case you haven't noticed, we're doing a construction episode today.
Which means
We're
one of
building
us.
on it anyway.
Yeah. Like it. Okay. Which means one of us had to Google what a soffit is this week. No comment on who.
That's the under part of the eave, right?
I don't
Yes.
know. I didn't Google it. That
Yes,
was
Sarah.
Megan. Okay. A couple more. I just have a couple more. Please just humor me.
Okay.
Why did the contractor go broke? He couldn't get his ducks in a row. Wait, that's farming. He couldn't keep his draws on schedule.
So what do you call a GC who always reads the contract before signing? Employed.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I asked my client if they wanted the change order in writing. They said they preferred verbal. I said I preferred getting paid. So we're at an impasse.
Yes. What is a subcontractor's least favorite four-letter word?
Wait, is it lien?
No. Free.
Yeah.
As in, I thought that was included for free.
Aha. All right. So I got a lawyer joke for you.
Okay.
Why do construction lawyers make great poker players? We know exactly when someone's bluffing about what was in the original scope. That
All
was
right,
not funny.
I have my last one. Are you ready?
I don't know. Let me get a drink for this.
Okay.
I'm a beverage.
A home builder, a GC, and a subcontractor walk into a bar. The GC orders drinks for everyone. The home builder says she'll pay at closeout. But the sub is still waiting on his retainage from 2023.
Oh, that sucks.
That does suck for him.
Yeah. So, Megan, e-sign or wet signature?
So can we define what wet signature is?
Signing with an actual lapis, an actual pen.
Mm.
Pluma.
Well, you know,
Lapis is pencil. Don't sign with lapis. Sign with a pluma.
I was going to go with e-sign, so I don't have to worry about either of those.
Oh, but I like the drama of a pen, a good pen, which is why I unknowingly take them all the time from places. But
Okay, so Sarah, mediation or just fix it and move on?
it depends on how much money we're talking about, honestly.
Good answer. Contractor who starts work before the contract is signed. Is this brave or a disaster waiting to happen?
Disaster, of course. I don't even think there's a debate for that one. What do you think?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't even put. I don't, but I wouldn't even put my tools on the ground
No.
until the contract is signed.
That's exactly what I advise people. In fact, I'll open with this. Did you know, Tim, that the average unpaid contractor dispute on a mid-sized North Carolina residential project is $47,000? Most of the time, that dispute has one root cause, and that's the contract. But did you know that's a lot of money?
Oh, I do know that's a lot of money.
Okay.
That much I knew.
So where did it all go wrong?
So I just gave a presentation recently with a room full of home builders, GCs, subs, project managers, and other professionals. And afterwards, I had people come up to me saying that they never even thought about their lien agent designation. And one guy had been in business for quite a while. So that's the gap that this episode is closing.
So what is a lien agent?
Sure. So a lien agent is the designated person that you go to for the lien. So that will come up later in just a minute.
So we're going to be clear here that this is a two-parter. So you're going to have to tune in for another week.
And we promise it won't be full of bad jokes, just a few bad jokes.
Just a few. But part one is
We won't let you down.
is building the right contract from the ground up. But part two is what you do when things go wrong. So basically consider it like a before and after.
Okay. So who is this episode for? So there are 3 positions in the construction chain, and each one of them has different contract risk profiles. So you've got the home builder developer, general contractor, and the subcontractor or specialty trade. So this episode is for all of those and for anyone, obviously. So Megan.
Yes.
What's the difference, basically, in the needs of all 3 of those?
So the home builder and developer contracts directly with the buyers or the owners, depending on what the job is. The key exposure would be if the owner backs out and the buyer disputes the scope at closeout, and then the subs are going to file liens on the project because everybody wants to get paid. And then the general contractor holds the prime contract, and then they're the ones that are managing the subs below. So the key exposure there would be an owner withholds the payment, the subs walk off, and an unauthorized third party shows up on your job.
That's a pretty big risk, yeah.
And then you have your subcontractor / specialty trades. And so those are working underneath the general contractor, and they rarely touch the owner. The key exposure is if the general contractor doesn't pay, citing owner non-payment, the scope that nobody documented lost lien rights from no lien agent notice. So the same contract principles go across all 3, but the risk lands differently in different places.
Right. So that's exactly right. The fundamentals of what makes a contract enforceable and protective are the same at every level. But what changes is who you're protecting yourself against and which clause does the work. So there are 9 elements. I always tell everybody there are 9 elements of a construction contract. So it's beyond the offer, acceptance, consideration, which is, the basics of a contract. There are 9 things you want to have in your construction contract. And so that's what it actually looks like. So let's pretend I'm framing a contract for someone who's been using a 1-page or a handshake agreement that they want to upgrade. So what's first, Megan?
So the parties, the license numbers, and the date. Full legal name of the entity. Okay. And the license number would be the contractor's license number.
Why does this matter?
Well, you need to know who you're actually suing.
Exactly.
And the license numbers prove that you're a licensed contractor.
Right. And don't just make it up, by the way. So the scope of work is number 2. What's included, and sometimes more importantly, what is not included. So it's the most important section you will ever write. Number 3.
Contract price and payment structure. Are we talking about lump sum versus cost plus versus GMP?
Okay. And if this is not the language that you live in, then don't worry about it. But if you know what those words mean, or even if you don't, and you work in the construction industry, call me.
Yeah. So the draw schedule is tied to milestones, not calendar dates, and late payment, fee rate, things like that. Those are things that are covered in that section.
Okay.
So the 4th would be the project timeline and milestones. So that's going to cover your start date, what is substantial completion, phase deliverables, and then ties to the draw schedule, milestones or trigger payments.
Okay.
And we were actually just talking about this when you and Travis built a house and used a small bank. And so they would come out at certain points to inspect to make sure things were actually done before they gave him any more money.
They did. And that's the benefit of using if you are a homeowner building, that's an opportunity that you have to get to know your local banker, because one of the banks that we use, the branch manager is actually the one that goes out. And, it's kind of nice because, I ran into the lady that came out to inspect the property whenever Travis was building the house before we got married. And after I told her who my husband was, she was like, wait a minute, does he live in Davie County? I said, yes. Does he live on this road? I said, yes. She's like, I was this banker back in the day at a different bank. So it's fun. It's good to have that connection. But anyway, I digress. So
So then we get into what we've been talking about a lot today, the change order procedure.
What's a change order?
So the change order is if you want to change what you originally contracted to do. So if could be moving where a light fixture is, changing a layout,
upgrading to something that's more luxury that was originally just contractor grade. Pretty much any change from the original scope of work, right? So a written change order should be required before any extra work. No signed CO equals no extra pay. So we'll talk about this more later.
So we're going to stick a pin in that until part 2.
Yeah. Can I ask, who is this geared towards? Is this the contractor or the person that they're building for?
Both.
Yeah. This is specifically for the contractor, GC, developer, subcontractor, specialty
vendors, all the people.
Yeah. Because so many times they do things like this on a handshake agreement or don't get changes in writing. And that's where they really stumble. So then we have number 6, the contractor approval rights. So the general contractor must approve subs. Subs can't further sub without written consent. This matters when the owner tries to bring in their own people.
Yeah, my cousin Claude, he does cement, and I want him to do it.
Well,
the other guy only does concrete.
He said he would backed up 3 or 4 months. So my cousin's just going to come do it. No, they are not. Don't want that. So
yeah,
that's the lien
that's
agent.
a problem.
Or you can do that and I'm still getting paid.
Yes. So number 7, Tim, is the lien agent designation. So it's required that you have a lien agent on projects over $30,000 in North Carolina.
That's backed up by general statute.
Yep. And this is the one most people don't know, but we're going to talk about that in part 2.
Okay.
And then we always have to have termination terms, or at least you should, Tim.
Right.
The cause and convenience of termination, the cure periods, and what the contractor is owed on exit. So don't skip this. It's your off ramp.
What is a cure period?
It's a time during which the customer can say, I'm not satisfied with this. It's a cure period where you are allowed to fix it.
Okay.
So they can't just like fire you on demand just because I hate this. They have to give you an opportunity to fix it and make it right.
Right.
All right. Otherwise, they still get full payment. Go ahead.
And then we need to talk about governing law, venue, and dispute resolution. So that you want to know what state law is going to fall under, and then the specific county, because you may not want to go to that county if you're going to end up in court. And then the dispute ladder. So negotiation first, then mediation, then litigation. So, and having that all laid out. We want to agree to all this when everybody likes each other.
Yeah. Before you ever start any work, all this needs to be hammered out, because just like when you go into business with someone and you want to have your business prenup in place, which is your operating agreement, you want to have your contract in place so that everybody knows what's going to happen if something goes south, or if everything goes great. You just want to make sure you get paid.
Absolutely. So you listed off 9 things together with me. So which ones are the ones that people most likely leave out?
Attorney fees clause, of course. So without that, you pay your own legal fees in North Carolina for the most part, even if you win. And the change order procedure, because everybody thinks they'll just handle it on the fly, and they can't. So always, always, always get everything in writing, change order, even if it's by text, confirm it by email and say, okay, we need to get a change order signed to confirm these changes. And then even if it's DocuSign, you need to have the responsible parties sign off on it. So, core rule. If any 2 people, the client, the GC, the inspector, the judge, could read your scope section for your scope of work and reach different conclusions, it's not written well enough. So what do you do, Megan?
Rewrite it until they can't.
Yeah. So if I interpret it differently than Tim, if Tim interprets it differently than Megan, who interprets it differently than me, it needs to be rewritten. Everybody needs to be on the same page as to what the scope of work is. Leave no ambiguity with that.
So I could write complete all framing work on the project.
No, that is not a scope. That's an invitation to a dispute. So you need a plan with a set date, square footage, specific materials, and spec sheets. What's included, what's explicitly excluded.
Well, inclusions are important, but so are exclusions.
Yep. So the subs who get burned on extras almost always had a scope that was just way too broad and too vague. So it's okay. It's okay to get very specific. And sometimes when you're talking to people, you can just tell they're either recording my conversation to use it against me later, or they're not going to remember this the way I remember this.
Yeah.
So protect yourself at the outset, and let's get it all in writing. Let's get everybody to approve it, and let's be detailed. So
I have a real story to share with you, Tim.
Okay. I like real stories.
So this client, who's a plumber, he signed a subcontract with scope language that just said all plumbing per plans.
Oh, no. I remember this one.
And the GC later claimed that included some commercial grade fixtures the client had never priced. So the dispute was over $11,000 in materials. And the plumber had to eat half of it to settle because per plans. See how this goes wrong?
Mm.
Yeah, so the per plans included a spec sheet that he had never seen or had never been given. So if the scope had listed specific fixture models and excluded any fixtures not specified in Exhibit A, this would have been a non-issue.
It would have been on the client and not the
Right.
plumber.
Well, the client, in this case, our client was the plumber, but it would have been on the customer, the plumber's customer, yeah. Because a very clearly defined scope of work is going to spell out, okay, we're going to use this type of fixture, this model, this grade, this ballpark range, which is where allowances come in. But it would have been a non-issue.
So, what does a good scope sentence actually look like? Because I think that even for people that are listening to this that are the clients, they're having their house built. What should they be expecting to see?
Right. So going back to the framing example, complete all framing work on project. Weak. Stronger is exterior wall framing, interior partitions, and roof truss installation for a 2,400 square foot single family home per stamped architectural plans dated blank. Excludes LVL beam installation, window and door installation, and any structural modifications not shown on reference plans. The difference is documentation, and the difference is specificity.
Yeah, I can see how those are a little different.
Yeah. So, should we talk payment terms?
Yes. Let's talk payment terms.
Fun. So you have milestone-based draws versus calendar-based draws. Calendar draws let the owner stall. Milestone draws have an objective trigger, so the inspection was passed, phase complete. Tie your draws to something that is verifiable.
So a sample draw structure would be mobilization, 10%, foundation, 15%, framing, 20%, mechanicals, 15%, drywall, 15%, finish, 15%, and then closeout would give you the final 10.
Okay, is that up to 100?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you do that math, which is a scary, scary thing.
Yeah, no, nobody wants me to do math. That's not my strength.
10 plus 15 is 25, plus 20 is 45, plus 15 is 60, plus 15 is 75, plus 15 is 90, plus 10 is 100.
You get the math lead award for the day.
Yay!
Woo!
And I am not a good math person either. I'm a musician. I only have to count to 4.
Sometimes 6 or 8.
Sometimes 6 or 8.
Yeah.
So we were talking about retainage. So here we go.
All right. North Carolina. Why do I struggle with that sometimes?
North Carolina?
North Carolina, North Carolina, North Carolina. Standard is 5 to 10% held back in escrow or held back until closeout. For subs, that means the GC may hold 10% of your invoices for 18 months until after your work is done. But you can negotiate your release terms. So you need to push for language that requires that GC to release within 7 days of receiving payment from the owner. For deposits.
Yeah, I was like, and then let's talk deposits.
Always, always, always require a deposit before mobilization. No clear deposit. And I'm not talking hand over a check. Wait for that sucker to clear. And talk to your bank about that, because every bank has different clear periods. Some are, I know for ours, it's 5 full business days. So it might be credited to the account, but it has not cleared. It can still bounce and get rejected. So no clear deposit. So they don't pay you in cash. They don't pay you in certified funds. Then it's not cleared yet. Not refundable. So this is standard professional practice. This is not aggression. This is, hey, I just want to make sure I'm avoiding conflict before a conflict.
Yes. And then late payment fees. So we need to put them in the contract at a stated rate, because that's going to do 2 things. It signals that you're serious, but it also gives you leverage to accrue interest while you're still waiting to get paid.
Yeah.
Remember that $47,000?
Yeah. Because your people need to get paid. You need to get paid. And your vendors have to get paid. You've paid the materials in many cases. So it makes sense.
So what about pay if paid clauses? I feel like I've heard that term, but I didn't totally understand what it meant for a subcontractor.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
Yeah. So pay when paid is a timing mechanism. So the GC will pay you only after receiving funds from the owner, customer, whoever, but the obligation exists regardless. So pay if paid shifts the owner's insolvency risk onto you. So that's pay if paid versus pay when paid, right? So you only pay if paid, you only get paid if the GC gets paid. Pay when paid is you as the subcontractor gets paid within 7 days of the GC receiving payment from the owner, or whatever the terms are of the contract. I advocate for 7, but everybody does their contracts differently. Like I said, the pay if paid shifts the owner's insolvency risk onto you. So it's never, so if the owner never pays a GC, you might never get paid. And North Carolina courts treat these very differently for a reason. And it's practical. So negotiate pay when paid language as a hard backstop date. Something like the GC shall pay sub within 45 days of sub's invoice, regardless of receipt from owner. That ensures that the sub gets paid even if the GC does not. Now, it's hard language, but
that's why you want an attorney.
Well,
because with pay if paid, pay when paid, I mean, who would have even noticed that? I mean, you, but
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have even known what it meant.
Well,
yeah, it's.
Well, when you're a subcontractor working on these jobs, it's easy to overlook that. You're just so excited to get the job until you don't get paid that first time, and you're out that $47,000 or whatever it is. So here's an example I used. It's similar to one I used the other night. So an electrician worked on a $62,000 commercial remodel on a pay if paid subcontract with a no backstop date. You know what I mean when I say backstop? So backstop says, it's going all the way up until this date. And then it, just hits like the backstop on a, give me a sports reference.
Well, the backstop in baseball is
Thank you.
It's the wall back there that keeps
so I was
people from being hit.
Thank you. I know there's a sports reference here, and I can't. It's just not like the recall is just not there. So 45 days after a sub has completed work and submitted invoice. So I complete work. I know with that backstop, that's my hard and fast deadline. I submit my invoice to the GC. I've completed my work. And it came back all the way up to this point, and then it hits the backstop. It has to be paid, or else the GC is then in breach. So
that's paid when paid, or
pay when paid.
Paid
Backstop.
when paid, yeah.
Yeah, pay when paid with backstop. So going back to my example here, you have the electrician works on the huge commercial remodel, but only on a pay if paid subcontract and no backstop date. The owner defaulted. GC was never paid, and the electrician spent 14 months in dispute trying to recover. So with a pay when paid backstop, the dispute could have been resolved within 45 days. This clause costs nothing to negotiate, and not putting it in costs everything, because at the end of the day, sometimes the bigger pockets or the people that can pay when the owner defaults would be the GC. Mm-hmm. So if they got paid anything, even if they didn't get paid anything, pay when paid with backstop says, well, even if you don't get paid, I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
When my work is done and I submit the invoice, you have to pay me by this deadline.
And just to be clear, these are not just for like new homes. This is for like renovation, remodels, reconstruction, any of that stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're just getting started, or you're breaking away and starting your own thing, whether it be as an electrician, as an HVAC person, really anybody, it's so easy to chase the business. It's so easy to say, oh, well, it's going to work out. I just really, really need the job. Well, you might really need the job, but you also really need to get paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
because otherwise you're going into negative. It's not just 0 of 0. It's negative because you had to pay your people, or even if it's just you had to buy your materials,
yep.
Tools, wear and tear,
time, money, talent on something that could have been more fruitful and productive that you would get paid on. You've spent now on this job that you're not going to get paid on, and you're now throwing good money at bad trying to get paid. So
let's talk about the signing meeting, because I think that is something that just, if you haven't been in that world, or especially for people that are looking at hiring a contractor.
Right. So I think a big thing here is that you talk through the scope of work out loud together with the customer every time, every line. Because this is where misunderstandings surface. Do it now, not at closeout. We're just going to get it out on the table ahead of time to make sure everybody's on the same page. Questions can be asked, questions can be answered. But before everybody signs, before there's a problem, let's talk it out first. It's sometimes an uncomfortable conversation, but do you want to get paid?
Yes.
Do you want a happy customer who says, yes, that is exactly what I wanted. That is exactly what I ordered. Or do you want somebody who's complaining on the back end saying, well, that's not exactly what I had in mind? A clear scope can help fix that.
And explain the change order process before they sign.
Yes.
Explain it every time, because it's the conversation that prevents every other conversation.
Yes. And we've already mentioned this, but I'm a huge fan of being very specific with your change order, because think about it. You had your scope of work, you had your contract, and now we're making a change. Why wouldn't you be more detailed in the change? Especially if you're upgrading. So we're upgrading, let's say, fixtures. I want the chandelier, the crystal chandelier, instead of the contractor grade hanging thing with the globes.
Yeah.
Put model numbers if you need to. But the more specific you can be, you want to make sure you have a happy customer, right? So think about it like this. It's not necessarily that you're trying to nickel and dime them. It's you want to make sure that they're satisfied with what they're expecting. You're meeting their expectations, and they are meeting yours when it comes to payment.
And then we need to confirm the lien agent name and address before leaving, or make it a contract condition for the GC to provide it before mobilization.
Right. And so the lien agent, again, preserves your place in line. So if the deal goes south and multiple people don't get paid, you know how to get in line to start that so that you can get paid. And this is, again, on jobs that are bigger jobs.
And then, again, like you said earlier, deposit clears before you schedule a start date. This is standard. So say it with confidence.
And don't
not
backpedal
weird.
on that. It's not weird. And I wouldn't be opposed to putting it on the bottom in all caps and bold at the bottom of the contract, or even at the top in the contract, because it makes sense. Why would I accept a bad check and start work? Like that's
not smart.
Yeah.
So, and then also have on things, have both parties initial the scope and payment pages. Initials equals they read it
and your
they
favorite,
acknowledged it.
Your favorite, Meghan?
Yes, e-sign. They have timestamps. It creates an audit trail. It makes it really hard to say I never got that when it is e-signed.
And I love it because on our e-sign platform, it says even when someone opened it. So I never got that. Oh, well, I'm showing you opened that on March 10th at 4:48 p.m. You opened it again on this date, and then you signed it on this date. So you never got that? Okay.
So what's the number one thing that should make someone slow down before signing? It's time to pull out a red flag moment.
Okay. So if you get pushback on the lien agent designation, so if a client or a GC resists designating that lien agent before you start work, and again, this is on bigger jobs, ask yourself why, because it's a legal requirement. There's no good faith reason to resist it. Other red flags, wanting to handle change orders informally. If that was a deal breaker, if anything is a deal breaker for me, it would be the change order. Because how many times in the construction process do things change? Prices change. Oh, this model's not available anymore. This is discontinued. I can only get 3 when I need 30 of those. Even as something as simple as a wall plate, I've seen disputes over. You know what a wall plate is, right? I know you do.
Yeah, it's the
little casing of the
over
switch.
the switches.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could go on an electrical outlet or a light switch.
Yeah. I represented an electrician, and there was a dispute about the wall plates. The contract said decorative wall plate.
Oh, so it doesn't say how decorative or what decorative actually meant.
Right. And no
It
price
just said-
range.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no like decorative wall plate model number blank.
So this wall plate has a kid that's looks like he's peeing into a pot. And I say that because growing up, one of my favorite things at one of my friends' house, their bathroom light wall plate was like a classic kid peeing in a pot.
Like the Calvin and Hobbes.
No, not that way. It was classic, like classic art. So, yeah.
Yeah, they get pretty fancy. I actually just upgraded some of mine in my house because, as we've discussed, my house is built 07 to 08, and it was very much contractor grade because we couldn't afford anything fancier. And we have been going systematically through and upgrading things. And it was time for the wall plates. And wall plates really do elevate things, but they get very, very expensive. You go from like 39 cents for a basic B wall plate switch to, I think, what did I pay? $12 a wall plate?
Yep.
And that made me angry because I'm pretty cheap. But then when I saw them installed, I was like, oh, it's beautiful. It's fingerprint resistant. It washes. It slices. It dices. No, it doesn't all those things. But you know what? Kids these days, they're really missing out because they don't really have infomercials anymore. So like all those references are just kind of lost. You remember the ShamWow guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Like that guy with the beard, Billy.
I don't know, but he's dead.
Not Billy Blanks.
No, I know who you're talking about.
Billy, the ShamWow guy.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't remember his last name.
Yeah, but like kids
But he
these
did.
days. Yeah, he gone. But kids these
He gone. Adios.
kids these days, they don't know about the infomercials. And like whenever
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays, yes. And he did all kinds of things.
he was the infomercial guy of the 90s.
Yes, he was. And he was always sweaty, but he always had a finely manicured beard.
Yes.
The thing was always just a shade over a 5 o'clock shadow. Anyway, I digress. Where were we?
Sarah's 3 takeaways to close. That's where we are.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So your contract. As you know, on this podcast, we say things we mean 3 times.
She's does not have OCD. She's just weird.
We're with her.
Completely 100%.
Oh, I have friends.
You do.
You're not alone.
The Sarah Young.
That's right.
We should change the outro song to I got friends in low places. No, I'm kidding. You guys are in high places. I love you both. And we're on the 7th floor. We're not in a low place.
No, we
Geographically speaking. Weird
God,
geographically.
she is such a lawyer.
Did I ever tell you my story about the Halloween that I had my rodeo shirt and my Darth Vader helmet, and I went as Garth Vader?
No,
And
but I love that.
I had friends in outer spaces.
Yeah. See, I want to hang out with you, Tim, because you seem like so much fun.
I like to have fun. I'm not doing anything if I'm not enjoying it.
You know what? I love pun. I love a good pun. Mm-hmm. And I love cheesy stuff like that. Like the cheesier, the better. In fact, I have a client. I've been handling this estate, and it's been going on for over a year now, unfortunately, because of the IRS. But we don't have to talk about that. The IRS is dragging its feet on sending a large refund check. Anyway, I love this client because I know every time I see him on my calendar, every time I have to check in with him, he and or his wife, they're going to tell me a good joke. By good joke, I mean a terrible dad joke, which are my favorite. And sometimes I'll even write them down and I'll go home and tell my husband, who's also the king of dad jokes.
Yep.
You know which client I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
In fact, the rest of the staff just like, they see his name, they just roll their eyes. But you know what? I love him.
That's the one with the face, right?
The one with the face. They all have faces, but yeah.
There you go.
It's the streets have no name, but he has a face.
Wow, we have stepped into. Need to cut these weeds.
Yeah, they're impressive.
Okay, so back to my takeaways here. Number 1, your contract is the most important document on any project. And this extends well beyond the construction realm. Contract. Written. A bad one doesn't just create disputes. It creates expensive disputes where you're doing work and someone else is keeping the money.
Usually an attorney. So,
Well, yeah, because you have to pay thousands to get your pennies back. Put it that way. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about whoever you hire. I'm not, attorneys are not cheap. So,
Scope and payment.
Yes, those are the 2 sections that will either protect you or expose you. So write the scope like a judge is going to read it because one might. And then
The lien agent.
the lien agent system in North Carolina. If you don't know that reference, go back a few episodes. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Did we finally explain it?
Sure.
Or you guys
Yes,
just
we
make
did.
fun of me about it? Okay.
We did.
Okay.
Or maybe both.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. Anyway,
Damn, we talked about this. Shh.
the lien agent.
She won't remember.
Okay.
I won't. The lien agent system in North Carolina is one of the best contractor protections in the country, but only if you use it. So we'll break that down in the next episode.
So next week, we're going to be getting into what happens when things go wrong, from change orders, violations, and then the lien clock. Tick, 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 tick.
And if you've been listening to this and thinking about a contract you sign that maybe doesn't have all 9 things in it, that's okay. The best time to fix it is before the next project starts. So reach out if you want a second set of eyes.
In North Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Thank you.
Ta-da!
That's been our episode. We kept it short and sweet this time. 30 something minutes. So
47, but who's counting?
quick reminder, while I am a lawyer, I may not be your lawyer. This podcast is designed to educate and entertain, not to provide legal advice for your personal situation. Every legal issue is unique, and good legal advice requires knowing all the specifics of your case, which I don't have from a podcast. If you need legal help with a legal matter, please consult with a qualified attorney in your jurisdiction who can give you personalized guidance. Thanks for listening, and remember, no attorney-client relationship is created by tuning in.
This is Motion to Spill. All rights are reserved. So this podcast is ours, not yours. We made it, we own it, and we copyrighted it. So don't steal our stuff, don't copy it, share it commercially, or don't try to pass it off as your own genius. If you want to use our content for something, just ask us, like a normal person. We might say yes, and we might say no, but at least you won't be breaking the law. Seriously though, unauthorized use of this content can get you in legal trouble, and no one wants that kind of drama. And I mean, come on, she's an attorney. Don't mess with her.